What's up everybody, this is Sam from the B Bunch family and welcome back to my channel Teacher Vibes. This is the channel where I give some advice, tips, and tricks on how to survive in the teaching profession. If you're new here, welcome, and this is where I talk about some advice and tips and tricks on how to survive within the profession. And I've survived in here for about 10 years as a special education teacher, but that doesn't mean I haven't had as many roles that you've probably read about or you probably already had in the first 6 months. I'm trying to reach out to everybody, see the first year teachers, the veteran teachers, give something for people to watch, and hopefully you'll learn something or maybe just want to hear something out from a different perspective. After all, it's not too bad out here, but to each his own, right? So today's video, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on the top 10 things on how to survive as a first year teacher. Maybe some veteran teachers or some other people can give some additional advice. You can feel free to comment down below. If you see me look down, it's because I have some notes here, so I just want to get all that done. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Tip number 1, time management. I think time management is key, especially when you are time is money, but time is also everything. You won't get that back. So what you need to do is quite literally pull out a calendar, as you see right here in the picture that I'm going to insert. Pull out a calendar, whether it be for your desk or dry erase one that you put on your fridge, something. You could even do it on your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, whatever you want, and just plan out your tasks for you, right? So whether that is you have IEPs to do, what lessons or what unit is coming up, time management is key because you cannot remember everything. With the amount of students and the needs that you have on top of all the other bureaucracy and administrative stuff that you have to deal with on top of that, it's just way too much to remember. You need time management, okay? The better you are with organizing your time, the better off you will be. If you do this electronically, make sure you set reminders, okay? Because we all know how it is with our typical alarm clocks. Sometimes we hit that snooze button. Set multiple reminders, okay? You need to remember these things, okay? Tip number 2, and I put this, and I'm saying all these tips, by the way, and not necessarily, order of importance, except for these first 2, time management, and get it in writing, okay? No matter what, get it in writing, okay? You will notice that anytime you send an email, people start to get a little skittish, like they don't want to put things in writing because they want to keep everything verbally. And sometimes it's no fault of their own. Sometimes it's just, by reflex. I grew up in a household where, verbal was just, the word of the person, and, things just got done. That's not how it works here, okay? Throw all that out the window. That doesn't matter. Okay, get it all in writing, no matter email, a memo, doesn't matter. Print it, save a copy for yourself. Be paranoid, save a copy into your OneDrive, save a copy into your Google Drive, and save a copy into a flash drive that no one has access to, okay? Get it all in writing, okay? Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, no one's gonna be your best friend at this point, okay? They will always work for you. You always try your best, but just get it in writing, whether it's for your administration, whether it's for your field trip, whether it's for anything. Get it in writing, okay? All right. Next tip I'm going to say is, this is based on my experience. I know what some of you are going to say, but this is just for me. Work through your lunch in moderation.
What he say?
Alright, sorry about that, folks. So we have a new guest. This is my daughter, Anna, from the B Bunch family. So it was her feeding time, so here we are, okay? So, where was I? Tip number 3, work through your lunch in moderation. And the reason I say that is not just to say like, oh, you should just work through your lunch and go be an overachiever. No, I'm not saying that at all. Working through your lunch is important because if you want to keep everything at the job and never take anything home, do that for at least the first few months, no more than 4 months if you can handle it. If you can do it throughout the rest of the year, sure, why not, if it helps you. But otherwise, if you're just gonna do a day-to-day thing, work through your lunch in moderation. I believe in taking breaks. You need to recharge, disconnect, do it. That's why the purpose of this video, right? But working through your lunch will help you to get ahead. And the more ahead you are, the lot less brain power you have to deal with, and less anxiety, less of all the issues that come out later will just go away. You will feel that nice, impressive relief when you walk out that door and don't have to look at the building again. Okay? Keep that in mind. So that means like even doing lesson plans or grading or unit planning, whatever you feel like you can do within the block of time that you have. Mine is usually 45 minutes, so I take about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to eat my food. Not scarf down my food. I eat my food because I just naturally eat fast. And then I just go start working. That's how I usually do it. Okay. 4. Get there or get to your building early to make your copies, if applicable. Not all buildings have this. Some buildings have, or some schools, excuse me, some schools will just have you submit your originals to the copy person, and then the copy person will just do it and you just walk away. You don't have to think about it. However, the same thing applies. If you are not ahead, then that could create problems. Sometimes the copy person could have like 5 different jobs ahead of you, you know, but if it's based on my experience over the last decade, right? It's a free-for-all. You get to that copy machine and you get it done early. So if you need to show up early, do it. You know, it does not matter, right? Obviously, be courteous to your colleagues. Do not just cut someone off. Do not stop someone's copies. That's very rude. Don't do that. However, you should try to get there early. Be the first one in and out. All right. Make sure you have all your originals set, and then just set them to copy. Do not fall into the trap of, oh, I think I got everything done, and then you forget something after you already walked away with all your copies, and then you got to come back all the way upstairs, and now there's a line for your copy machine. Okay. Never forget that loose exit ticket. Oh, nightmares. All right. Next one we have, get students to help you. Okay. So you're always gonna have students who you share a connection with, students who just bond with you naturally, and that's great. That means you're doing your job. Okay. So these students will help you if you ask them, and if they just happen to be doing nothing on their lunch period, or they just want to stay after school for just because. So what you want to do is print out some answer keys. I used to do this. This year the students are iffy back and forth, but I do have some assistance this year anyway. So get your students the answer keys to like a test that you had in another class, right? And then just have that student grade them. So I never let a student grade from their own class. So if Bobby Joe is in period 5, living environment, he's not gonna grade the test for all his classmates in period 5. He would grade period 3 or period 2, scramble it up. That way they never know who is who, and they know it's private. You know, grading is key because the amount of work can be overwhelming. So it's important to spread the work, and students are always willing to lend a hand. You know, they know everything's at stake for their graduation, and they just want to get everything done. And if they get help, then sure. And if you want to throw extra credit on their way, sure, why not? You know, most of the time they'll just help you just because. Let's see. Next, seek advice, and I'm not talking about just from your mentor that they assign you. Okay, sure, the mentor is great. That's wonderful. However, your mentor doesn't know everything, right? Just like I'm sure, like you're not gonna only use my YouTube videos as your only thing. I hope this is just another outlet for you to look at if you need some advice. Okay, seek advice from other colleagues, some that you like, some that you think you probably share a bond with, and try to get this advice from those colleagues you know are gonna be honest with you and not, for all intents and purposes, not set you up. You know, I know it sounds kind of shady and things like that, or like, oh, Sam, you're just being paranoid. Listen, 10 years is more than enough to know, like, there's a couple of people. So just keep that in mind, okay? My apologies here. So then, let's move on to the next one, okay? Shop DOE, right? So, or even your whatever online portal you might have for your particular district, your state, wherever, where your school usually purchases supplies for you. That, I'm hoping, is your best friend, as well as your tax exemption form. Okay, get the tax exemption form from this applies mostly to New York City and New York State, at least from my experience. Get the tax exemption form from the school. You should be able to get it, and you are allowed to buy tax-free stuff. You're allowed to go to Staples, at least I do, and then I provide my ID from the Department of Education with my school's address. I show the Department of Education tax exemption form, and I buy the supplies, and then I keep the receipt, and I go back and to the school the next day, and I usually get reimbursed. And this is usually for not like papers and not like for like loose leaf or anything like that, like real specific stuff that you need for your classroom, like for sake of argument, wireless pointer to be able to move the smartboard slides around, right? That will become DOE property, but just keep that in mind. Okay, whatever you buy and get reimbursed for, especially for using those forms, it is not yours to keep. Do not think about that. Okay, if you want to know more about budgeting and something called Teacher's Choice, I will talk to you about that in an upcoming video. That's actually next week's video, so tune in for that. So I have some tips on that as well as how to get something from a nice little tax deduction. Okay, just for that. That's totally legal, by the way. All right, next, create a to-do list the night before. Okay, the night before, you're gonna wake up in the morning before you go to work. Right before bed, take like 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. Create a to-do list. What do you have to do the next day at your job? Okay, do you have to make copies? Do you have to set up a printer? Do you have to set up lab supplies? Do you have set up books? Whatever it is you need to do, just take 5 minutes and list out those to-do tasks. And let's be realistic, tasks that you can do that won't take you no more than 10-15 minutes. You still need to prepare for your stuff, for your day. Your brain, your mind, your soul, everything needs to be prepped for that day. So don't go crazy putting a whole bunch of stuff on your to-do list just to get it done. Don't do that. Okay, breathe. You got this. You always will have it. Okay, most days. Next, be consistent. Okay, especially with maintaining your room. And what I mean by that is, if this is just my personal experience, if you come into a classroom that's kind of messy every morning, it kind of sets the tone for yourself, and kind of like, or at least for me, it kind of like throws me off a little bit. I like the chairs to be flipped up like we used to do in elementary, right? The chairs usually go up, and then in the morning, then the first teacher usually brings them down, because yes, it helps out the custodial staff, but it also shows you that the room is clean, ready to go, and ready to learn. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. On top of maintaining consistency, make sure you do that with the systems you have in place with your students. So if you say you're going to call home in that moment, you better take 5 minutes, put the other students to work, and you walk out that door and call on that phone. But don't ever do that. Never leave your students by themselves. Okay, try to do it at least at the end of the day. If you want, make that one of your lunch period things. Do that on your lunch period. Okay, if you know that kid was really, really bad, and they need to be a phone call home, and you tell them, I'm calling home, do it. Make sure you do it right in that lunch period that you're gonna do it for yourself, or at the end of the day. Do not let any time go by past midnight. That's a little extreme. Let's say by 6-7 o'clock p.m. of that day without calling the parent, because if you do, then they'll know that you won't be consistent, that they can do whatever they want. Don't ever do that. Okay, be consistent. Next, keep it simple. By the way, I think I've already passed 10 tips, and now these are just bonus ones to help you out. So I'm a big believer in Kevin Hart's book. So it's like, the goal was 10. Well, guess what? I'm gonna shoot for 14. I'm gonna shoot for 14. So here we go. Tip number 11. Right, we're overshooting now. Keep it simple. Tasks and procedures. Okay. So if excuse me. So if you know that for your task, if you know your students need just straight vocabulary, they have vocabulary deficits, just make the task as simple as possible. Make some guided notes, which are just some fill in the blanks, right? And then the task for them to do for that day, do some vocabulary matching. Give them a word bank, and that's it, right? That's the task that they can do for that day if they're really low. And this is in my experience, because if the level is really low, they're not going to be able to do as much as you think they will. In theory, you always, not even in theory, in reality, you always set the bar high to make sure that this is what they're expected to do, right? Never lower it for them, because if you do, then they'll never amount to anything. At least if you push them, and you push them hard, you make them aim high, then at least if they don't get as high, they know where they potentially could be, and they will land as close as possible. Keep pushing them in a loving way, okay? Don't be too drill sergeant-y. Procedure-wise, if you know that you're running to a different classroom between different procedures, make sure the handouts are on that table the period or two before, and put a nice little post-it on it with your name on it. All right, say that this is for that period. That way, the minute if you have students already walking in there before you, or there are students already there, the first thing they know to do is they need to grab a handout from the desk and get started immediately. You never want any downtime, because idle hands. You can finish it for me. Tip 12. Here we go. Ooh, we're pushing this one. Watch your money. And what I mean by that is ensure you are getting paid correctly. Okay? You are a teacher. You do not get paid as much as you should be. All right? We do not get paid as much as we should be. Okay? You need to make sure your pay is correct and it's accurate, because I'm gonna tell you something. When it comes to your money, and if it's owed to you, the system will go as slow as molasses. Like, oh, that's happening. Oh yeah, we'll get there. But if you owe them money, they're faster than the Flash. So trust me, they'll come after you. But if you have to go after them, it'll take a million years and a day just to get something, especially on the phone. Okay, are they trying their best? I'm gonna go ahead and benefit of the doubt. Yes, you never know. However, in my experience, the people I've met, that's a whole different conversation. Okay, 13. Ooh, here we go. 13. Look, I'm pushing yourself even more, right? And all within a certain time frame while you're still on your lunch break. I hope so. So, know your rights. Okay, if you are working privately, same thing. Know your rights, and here's what I mean by that. So if you're in a union, find your union rep, get their phone number, whatever it is. They have to make sure that you know your rights. In my case, they give us a little book, usually at the beginning of every year, that gives us a list of all of our rights, what we're supposed to have, with a nice little calendar in the back for ourselves to keep track of. And if you were working privately, know your rights. Make sure you read that contract before you sign it. And once you sign that contract, make sure right before you sign the contract, make sure you can take that contract, read it over. You should be able to take it home, have a legal entity read it over if you can. If you know a friend of a friend, if you can get a virtual lawyer to peruse it really quick. Make sure you are not signing your death sentence. Okay. The last thing you want to do is sign a contract that says that you can be terminated for any little thing, including if you happen to look at someone the wrong way, and then it's automatically, they don't have to have a reason. That's so inappropriate. Okay, so check everything, know your rights before you sign. And the last thing I want to mention is tip 14. Alright, that's it. That's the last nugget, I swear. This will be the last nugget. Tip 14. Be kind to yourself. You are a first year. You could be even 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. Be kind to yourself. Okay? Every year, every student is different, and you can, as much as we may want to put everything in a box to make it easier for us to follow, especially for consistency, it's not always the case. It is not black and white. Not every shoe fits. Okay? You're going to have struggles. You will. I had my first breakdown in October my first year. No worries. It happens. You are who you are. You're making the best that you can with the materials and information you have in front of you. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your students. Be patient and understanding. Work with them. Okay? Obviously, we know there's always some here and there some behavior issues, but usually people mean well. Just talk to them, and as well as give yourself that pep talk. Because the more you have an open mind, the better off you'll be. Okay? So, that's it for my tips, folks. So, before I go, if you're interested in some family vlogs, marriage, adoption, follow the B Bunch family in the card up there, as well as the link down below in the description. Please like, share, subscribe this video, share with your friends, share with your colleagues. I hope to continue to provide some more meaningful content for you.